navigate, knowing that, people have a problem with you, even if they agree with the mission? Because I've experienced that too, where they say they support the mission, but they just can't get past you as an individual. How have you been able to navigate that?
It took a long time, and let me tell you when the light bulb came on. Was when President Barack Obama, and I'm looking at two of the most intellectual and accomplished people of color that I had ever met.
Mm-hmm.
And then I looked at the criticism that came along with that. And
Wow.
the light bulb said, oh, wait a minute, hold on, remember.
We so go to, I'm sorry, Maria, we haven't.
That's okay.
So it's one at the top. Let me come around that cube.
I got it.
You got it? You see it?
Yeah, I see it.
All right on. And so you said watching the Obamas and the challenges that they were facing.
Thinking, oh my God, if that could happen to them, Maria, who are you? And then what God said to me, remember, they hated me so much, Jesus, Martin, Malcolm, Robert, John, that they killed us.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
the concern about what they thought about me just dissipated.
Yeah.
Because what you learn to recognize as you mature in grace is the part. If you're doing something that matters, you're gonna always have the enemy, and the enemy is gonna always. And if that's a deterrent, you're in the wrong business.
And you must be doing something right.
You must be doing something right.
Yeah.
If you're the favorite and people are loving you and any and everything, eating off every word, there is something wrong.
Yes.
But what I have been able to enjoy, there are the many, many voices that will ensure me, either if it's social media, if it's on a phone call, to say, girl, just keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
I had a supporter call me and tell me they wanted to, that he and his wife wanted to invest again in the campaign and ask if I could come and pick up a check.
Okay.
A nice size check. And
that's always good.
That's always good. And then
it's not showing up.
All we want you to do is to get a bullhorn, and we want you to keep speaking to the issues that are impacting this community. Because what has happened is somehow leaders have begun to equate being a leader with being silent. And I've been told, Maria, you're a great candidate. You got what I say to people on a consistent basis, if that has worked for us, please show me. And I don't mean just black people.
Right.
If that has worked for any people, show me how it works. I'm on that board because I don't profess to know everything.
How that works
for you. And if we're able to see long-term, sustained, and systemic change, I count me in on that strategy.
Yeah.
But this notion that we want to remain silent in hopes that by osmosis people are going to understand my message and understand me as a mayor, no, that's not going to happen that way.
Wow. Then you mentioned earlier about the work culture and the people in the city, knowing that there's like 4,000 city employees that's keeping the city running every day. What kind of culture, work culture, are you committed to building, and what would employees experience differently under your leadership?
Yeah, one of the beauties of my experience has been to learn the art of managing people as my greatest asset. And one of the things that I recognized through my experience as the president of the NAACP, and just by living in this community, the environment, we need to recreate a positive environment. Now, what does that mean? What does that mean in the city of St. Petersburg? A lot of the top heavy positions that we got titles and job, and that just blow me away. Yeah. And
this, that, third. Yeah.
Not exactly what does that one do that fit next to that one from.
Yeah.
And what
I manage the plants. You manage the water. Jokes.
She managed the pot.
Yeah. And we all get a really good salary.
We arguing about who's supposed to do what.
Yes, exactly. I had an opportunity to meet with James Corbett, who carries a lot of the city's main department. Yes. And great guy, really receptive to the meeting. And I just have to wonder, when I look at the distribution of his department, if it's appropriately aligned with all of what he appears to be a great administrator.
That's brilliant.
That's a lot of weight, bro.
Yeah.
But yeah, being able to go in and make those assessments, it'll take me maybe 2 meetings with my top administrators to determine right off the top where we got to cut the fat from the top. And where we redistribute the responsibilities. We have some practices that have just blown me away in sanitation and utilities, where we've actually had people who have lost in almost $11,000 in salary, and I've just not ever known how that works in the public sector when it only happens for a few.
Right.
Definitely, there are opportunities and times across the board when there may have to be cuts, even though I've not seen that in my 40 years. I've seen salaries frozen, but I've never seen a selected group of individuals have to lose $11,000 in pay.
Wow.
And it's like, and of course, what kicks in with that is the fear that if you say anything, you will have whatever you have left. And that's just the kind of thing that I'm so happy to be going into this race with, and ultimately winning this race, is I don't have the weight of being a professional politician. I don't owe anybody. Nobody has no dirt on me. People have to accept the fact that I'm not perfect. I'm not going to always get it right. But what I'm always committed to is trying to get it right. And I'm committed to getting the results that impact people, not the results that elevate Maria to queen status, but the results that elevate people. And when I look at and talk to people in this city, and it does not matter on what side of the tracks people are on, what I'm finding consistently, people are struggling. They cannot afford to live in St. Petersburg. They cannot, the utilities have to experience almost a 60% increase in your utilities, and then not have an explanation. And I don't know the sister's name that they put before the city council to give an explanation, but I was even more confused when she finished.
Talking about the situation.
And so I think that the key is that when you invest in what my experience has taught me is, when you invest in people and when you clearly communicate expectations to people, and when they see that you're strategic in what you're doing and that it's not about you, baby, they'll perform all day, every day. I just had one of my bosses say to me, "Oh, Maria, you're always bragging about your staff." Bragging about my staff. When my staff perform like they perform, I'm gonna always pump them up.
As you should. As you should. You should give people their flowers. And this is what I do know about you, is that you're consistent, right? And you can love me, you can like me. if you feel I did wrong, you're gonna tell me I did wrong. If you can love me, you can like me. If you think I need to go to jail, you're sending me to jail.
But all the love I can muster.
And because you separate the two with it, and I think
that's
where
true.
you're like,
you're right. No, so now you just hit a personal nerve, right? And just we talking, to our people here, and you're right about that, because I know we don't always agree.
No, we don't.
But
That's
one thing. But here's the thing that I love about that is we're always honest.
Yeah.
And it's like we tell each other exactly how we feel, and if we don't agree, it's clear why we don't agree. That's right. It's not just I just don't like you and I don't agree. Exactly right. And then we've had instances where like, okay, you know what? I thought that was the case, but I was wrong about that. And you're big enough to say, you know what, Brother John, this is what I thought it was. It wasn't what I thought it was, and you was able to correct that, and vice versa. And I think that's what another thing of good leadership, where like if you realize that you made a mistake or that you misread a situation, being able to come back and say, you know what, I read that wrong.
And that's key. It is key. It is key. It is key. And I'm gonna tell you, I got a big ego. I don't like to be wrong.
Oh, so to be wrong either.
So if somebody is honest enough to say, Maria, you missed it. Don't you think I'm gonna own that?
Well, you might have to sleep on it for a second.
Let me tell you, I'm like, hey, I'll have some calls. Hey, and with me, I can tell people once I become a public figure, you call me out publicly. You don't have to be afraid to not call me out publicly, because when you accept positions of public position, what comes with that?
But that makes sense, because you, regardless, you call out publicly, and then and this is an issue. Like, you're really an issue person, not the because like you have an issue today, like I might fire at you, boo, 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 and then it's something else, and then you calling like, hey, kumbaya, like, hey, like you. But yesterday we was going back and forth, no, but at the end of the day we align,
and that's the maturity that we need in leadership, where we can separate issues, and really understand, like, we may not be aligned on this issue, but that don't mean that we're not aligned on everything. And being able to know when we have alignment, we have alignment. One of the things I wanted to ask you about too is the neighborhoods. And so, being South St. Pete raised, an advocate and a champion for what happens in South St. Pete, this idea that when you become the mayor, right, you have to pick and choose. You know how you hear people say, well, I'm not just the mayor of Black St. Pete. So knowing that there's issues in our communities, how would you be able to guide the decisions that you use to prioritize which neighborhoods or which parts of the city that you really put emphasis on?
Well, I think that one is the real easy one for me, because one of the things about being the mayor is you are a mayor for the entire city.
Right.
What you have to do, I'm a data person.
Okay.
So when you show me the data that's impacting whatever the neighborhood, I've been going to these neighborhood association meetings. I hear what the issues are. If those neighborhood associations, which is one of mine, 13th Street Heights, and the one thing that the neighbors organized in 13th Street when they heard that I was going to be running for mayor was to come and knock on my door and ask me if I was going to move when I'm elected. I'm like, what? And it just totally threw me. No, why would I move? This is my neighborhood.
Right.
So what we have to do is when we're in the public, a part of our fiduciary responsibility is to let data drive us, not my personal feelings. Now, what happens is my experience, there are things that I'm going to have more of a historical background for because I've been there. It's just like a reporter text me about this whole issue of my uncle being in the forefront of the decision when we were trying to advocate for Black people to have access to the beaches and the pools. Davis. Yes. And so they were trying to give us a piece of beach on Gandy. And my uncle like, whoa, no, that is not acceptable. We should have access to all public beaches and pools in the city of St. Petersburg.
Right.
And so when you have an understanding of what some of the historical challenges have been, that's what you allow guiding you is the data. And the data does not lie. The other piece of the fact is that we have to understand there have been changing conditions in Childs Park. Oh, there have been changing conditions in Childs Park. There have been changing conditions in 13th Street Heights.
Yeah.
Okay, so that means I got to look at the data a little bit differently, because all of a sudden the data says that we have higher degrees and higher incomes. But okay, let me go and let's take another dive and see who that is.
That's right.
That's not the people that originally lived there.
We're calling them legacy residents.
Legacy residents.
And when you take into the data, you got to think of the people who's actually like participating in it, because a lot of times we don't like to participate.
Yeah.
You know, like if you're going to do surveys and stuff like that, we'll look at you and not. And then we got our other neighbors that's, yeah, let me tell y'all. Yeah.
They've been on the third year, wherever they came from, that new neighborhood. They paid that $320,000 with ease, and and now they're engaged citizens, and we've been here the whole time and not engaging. I know another one of the issues, again, for those who just tuning in, we're here with candidate for mayor Maria Scruggs. Definitely appreciate you stopping by. If you have any questions, give us a call, 727-637-2416.
I'll put it in the chat.
Put it in the chat. Let us know if you have any questions or if you have any comments as well. Another one of the issues that has come up a lot is flooding and infrastructure, right? And so knowing that some neighborhoods experience flooding year after year, what are some of the long-term infrastructure investments that you think need to be prioritized in order to be able to make a permanent change? Because a lot of this stuff seems to be just quick fixes. How would you approach those things?
That's what I call in that box of complicated issues.
Okay.
That's the area that I don't have the requisite experience to talk about what is appropriate.
Okay.
What I do have for those complex issues, just like flooding, is what I call the collaborative process, where I'm bringing the people who know what the issues are, because something, as the old people used to say, common sense.
Yeah.
I'm not understanding
Yeah.
how my nephew's grandmother's house flooded in Harbordale after 51 years of living there. It's all of a sudden flooding.
Yeah.
And that we have condos and luxury this and luxury that going up. And somebody's not explaining to me why would this neighborhood all of a sudden be flooding?
Yeah.
And the plans that have been put into place appear to be stopgaps, band-aids, or strategic or politically motivated solutions. And I'm not there. I'm big on let's bring the folks to the table. Let's talk about what is the specific issue. And let me tell you the area that it may impact on some of this permitting of these buildings that are going up, and it looks like let's see who can build the highest, the tallest build, the competition to build.
They're taking away our sunlight.
Yes. Wait, I appreciate that. I mean, but that's another what your response to that question really again just highlights your leadership, right? Because you can get somebody who say, "Oh, the first thing I'll do on day one for flooding and infrastructure is XYZ." But just having the self-awareness to be like, you know what, we need to bring in the experts, bring in the people, and that's one of the things that I learned just as a CEO, right? That's the whole Henry Ford thing. You don't have to know. You have to have a number to somebody who does know. And have
there you go.
And you need to be able to say that.
Yeah.
And the mayor has
you got to be able to say that. I need help.
Right.
Asking for help is not a sign of weakness.
No, it's not.
Sign of intelligence.
No. The mayor, the greatest asset that the mayor has in a strong mayor form of government is the ability to convene.
Oh yeah.
And so when you can convene and you have the ability to bring the people around, and not just local. You may have to reach out to resources outside of your local community and say, this is what our issue is. This is what we need to resolve. And this is what we need to resolve in the long term. The quick fix, the band-aids, the politically expedience, we're not into that. For those residents that have decided that St. Petersburg is going to be the place for them, we want to be able to put together a sustainability plan that's grounded in substance.
Absolutely. And I know you did a lot of work around youth and reading proficiency. And so, we talk about that. You often talk about, I still do, about how like only 25% of African-American children are reading on grade level. What role would you say the city leadership would play? Because that was another one of the things that used to come up. Well, the city can't really do anything about education. It's all, the county and school district. And so knowing that, if you're elected to be mayor, this has been one of your issues for a long time. What would be some of the ways that you would address that as mayor?
Let me take you back historically. The reason that the education came on the city's agenda, you all know that this is the second time I've run for mayor.
Yes.
And when I ran against Rick Baker's thing was, education is not the job of the city. I said, au contraire. It is the job. It is the business of the city, yes, because we have X number of elementary, middle, and high schools in our city limits. And what we should be doing is working with the school district to ensure that the children that live in St. Petersburg are successful.
Right.
And what we recognize, and so it was interesting that Rick Baker, when he was elected, hired an education liaison. That's what started that. Okay. And every mayor since then, but not one of these people have done anything substantive in the field of education. And of course, there are your public platforms and there are your private platforms. One of my private platforms, just simply because I don't want people to get distracted about the strategy, is definitely having an input and relationship with the Pinellas County school system to talk about some of my ideas of what I want to see and what I think and how the city can support children in the schools that are in St. Petersburg academic success. Right. And because I've been in that trench, I can have more of a concrete example of what type and how we as a city can support, and us just allowing staff to have a day off to go read or hour. That's not what I'm thinking, not at all. And we do have resources in the city where we have a very vibrant youth parks and recreation. There are some things that we could be doing differently in parks and recreation to support what our children are doing in the Pinellas County school system.
I just have to smile because you're so real with it, right? You said just having our children, employees go read, because that was a big deal. Like, they celebrated that they were paying city staff to go and read to children for an hour, and the cost of that. I remember looking at the budget, as a council member, and I was like, it's a lot of money for us to go and spend an hour. Mentorship has its place, don't get me wrong, but the way you framed it around the effectiveness, because a lot of these things they sound good in theory, but we have enough data now to say, okay, what has been the outcome? And so how does that show up in the decisions that you make? Because I know you're big on strategic planning and also reviewing outcomes. How does that show up in your leadership style and the philosophy that you bring as well when you're making decisions about what program to keep and what program
that's the foundation of my leadership. Is talk to me about what you've done as the administrator for Parks and Recs. Talk to me about what you've done education. What has been our number one? How much are we spending on it, and what have been the outcomes? And then I want those administrators to come back and tell me, this is what I ultimately want to see in our Parks and Recs. I want to see us, if we're going to have educators that come in after school, I want to ensure that those educators are consistent. And those educators are working with a plan that is going to address the needs of our children. We're just not hyping on the fact that we got an educator there at Campbell Park. What is that been the impact of that educator?
They call them lead metrics, right? like you got with the lag metric. You got a lead metric. Having the person there is one thing, but what did they do? What was the problem?
What was the problem?
Another hot topic is the gas plant district. What do you see for that in your administration?
I see the gas plant as the number one issue in this city that will determine our success or lack thereof. And I think in order to give it that level of seriousness and place in our history, that we must start that process over. Elected, when I'm elected, if there has been a developer chosen, I will take the option of starting that empower process over with planning, because as I said to the and a letter to the council, conditions have changed so much in our economic and condition and in people's condition that what we are relying on in 2020 is not going to cut it.
Yeah.
The other piece that we have got to carve out and make sure that it makes sense is this the promises. I think some people are confused about what those promises were. It was not about a museum or a plaque. It was about with the replacement of the economics that we lost. When you displace a whole community, when you tear down the economic impact of the businesses, the homes, and someone challenged me on Facebook last night and said, well, they got relocation money. Oh, no, au contraire. They got relocation money. Residents got relocation money, but it was not substantive enough to go and replace the house that they lost. And so it is important that we ensure that the promise is well defined in the terms of economic benefit, not just the honor. I've seen in some of the two of the
acknowledgement and recognition of what was here before. But not like repair.
Exactly.
And that was a word that they didn't want to say. I remember doing the participating peripherally with the structural racism study, and they didn't want to use the term reparation, the root of which is repair. And so you want to acknowledge and celebrate, but you don't want to repair the damage and replace that. What would be some of the recommendations on how you would think to say, okay, in order to honor these promises, how would we make the people who were there whole, or make the community whole in this type of development? I think that's one of them big questions.
One of the bigger questions, and I think one of the key ones that we have to talk about, and you don't hear a lot about, is in these redevelopment agreements, you will often have reference to jobs. And it's kind of this thing that's on the side that's in writing, but you never really see how we're talking about jobs that are going to be available in the here and now. And then how much are those jobs going to pay? Those are the kinds of discussions we have to stop dealing with the promise with these obscure kind of words that really have no definition. When we talk about small business support, what does that mean? We still have a predominantly African American business corridor that's just adjacent to the historic gas plant, which is 16th Street.
Right.
I just knew that would be a priority of the current administration. And it was really disturbing to see that shortly after his father passed, he sold it. And I'm like, whoa, that's not good. That would have been my first meeting with legal, saying, look, I own this strip, but I want to make this a priority in the redevelopment of the historic gas plant. How can we do that so that, my dad's family's legacy is in the heart of this redevelopment, and that we're able to see substantive kind of redevelopment on 16th Street.
Not sell it.
Let's not sell it and not have let's not have a plan other than let's pocket the money.
We got people say, I live in Pinellas Park. Can I vote for her?
So you just tuning in, y'all. We here with candidate for mayor, Maria Scruggs, longtime lifelong St. Pete resident. And she talking that talk, y'all. So if you have questions, put them in the chat, or you can give us a call, 727-637-2416. We talked about some of the work, talking about culture as it relates to the employees, your background, your experience with managing employees, the reading proficiency work that you've done, youth development. Even asked the question about flooding and infrastructure.
Right.
We were just talking about the historic gas plant.
Right. And so with your race and your administration, what do you can say that makes you stand out from what makes you different? What are we going to see different from you that we haven't seen?
I think that the key difference is that I'm not a professional politician.
Okay.
I think that is going to be the key. I don't have to do the twisting and turning and massaging that politicians have to do in order to keep those checks coming. And this is why I say, let me tell you, people, Brother John say, I keep it real about saying what needs to be said. There's a price to pay when you're not bought and sold.
Yeah.
And what happens is the people have to decide, you know what, that's my candidate right there. So I'm going to put them $25, $50 and send that campaign, because campaigns cost. Yeah. And this is why professional politicians kind of lose sight of the people.
Right, because they're already bought. Hey, caller, caller, introduce yourself. We're speaking with Maria Scruggs. Hello. Call back. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, hung up. Keep going.
Yeah,
in the chat. I hung up. Keep going.
And I think what sets me apart is that I've not been bought and sold. That is, I have a very, very deep respect for the truth.
Okay.
And while I recognize that the truth can sometimes be painful, that's the only way I've learned on how to move forward. When you're talking about a city as beautiful as St. Pete, and the beauty that one of the things that I love about St. Petersburg is the people. We just have a very diverse group of people, and they're represented in my campaign. I got the coolest campaign team. I tell you, most of them definitely are much, much younger than me, and they keep me hopping and keep me laughing with some of the stuff that they come to the table with. But it's recognizing that if I'm going to be an effective mayor for the future, you've got to have that young energy around the table and that young skill that's helping you stay focused. And I think that's the thing that will keep me separated. I was watching how the current mayor and I understand that Charlie Crist may run. I watched how they moved around at the Collard Green Festival, for example. They kind of did this promenade where look at me and I'm here with my entourage. And I thought, oh, that St. Pete too small for that. I'm in and out of the booths and eating the food.
I remember you. Boy, I'm glad to see you. You doing good.
Mama doing.
And it's and some of my team members are very new to this. And that was exciting for them to meet some of the vendors. And I looked around at the photographers. They got shopping bags where they're just into it, really having fun. The same thing with the MLK parade. And that's one of the things that I'm just not afraid to celebrate being Black. And I think that if you're going to be an effective mayor, you have to be comfortable in the skin that you're in. The reality is I'm a senior citizen. I got to be comfortable in that. The fact is that I have over 40 plus years of public administrative experience. I have to be comfortable in how that plays into the decision making of a city of over 200,000 people. And I think those are the things that will set me apart from anybody that decides to get into this race.
And I think that is a huge qualifier too, because you do talk about the professional politician, and running a campaign is one thing, doing legislative work is another thing, but the actual administrative piece. And I like that you really emphasize that, because that's what we see. Like when you have a career as a legislator, and then the day-to-day operations is being done by somebody else, you haven't been in that position. Like you're doing the day-to-day operation, and I'm hearing that clearly. That's what you use as the way that we can really detect it. Because again, it's as a council member, that was one of the struggles that I had, because when I was in the neighborhood association, I could just call, Miko over here and say, hey, we need some chairs for this event. And they were like, wait, you can't do that. You have to go this long way. As a legislator, you got to go a long way to get it done. But on the administrative side, you can just make that reach. So hearing that.
Exactly. And that's one of the things that I take back to when the voters decided they wanted a strong mayor form of government. They did not say we want an autocratic government. They said we want a mayor who is the CEO. That means that the buck starts and stops with you as it relates to the administration. not you paying 2 and 3 different administrators to do that because that buffers you.
Yeah.
The intent was not for the mayor to be buffered. Right. It was the intent for the mayor to have the direct administrative experience. Our current mayor is a wonderful person, but he is a career legislative body individual where the work has always been done for you. Your reports are prepared. You get to look good on a county commission meeting for 20 years, and all of the heavy lifting is done by the county administrator. Well, what the city said, we don't want to do that anymore. When Don McRae was our last city administrator, the public said, no. We need to be able to hire the person that's going to hire and fire the police chief.
That's right.
And that's what we have in me. And that I mean, there may be a laundry list of individuals that get into the race, but I would be willing to bet no one will have that administrative experience, nor will they have the neighborhood. See, I can talk about what I have done in Childs Park. I can talk about what I've done in Jordan Park because the work. And I could, as I saw,
that's where I met you. Now that you said, I remember. We ain't got time for this.
Because we're like we 5 minutes away.
I remember going to a neighborhood meeting, and I was like real young, and I think it was you, maybe Armanda Lampley, and then
there you go.
And the reason it's coming back to me because I remember, I told you, but it wasn't just stature physically, but your presence in that room and how you commanded that room. It was you, Miss Armanda. I think Tommy. Lampley. I didn't know what was going on. I actually went in there by mistake, and then when I came in there, they like celebrated me because I was like one of the youngest people in the room. And then after that, they were inviting me to go to conferences and like, hey, we want the youth involved. But I just like that really literally just came back to me when you said that. I totally forgot about that.
The reason that the Childs Park, the Childs Park Junior Rattlers exist is because of me.
Yeah.
All right, we got a caller before they hang up. Caller, introduce yourself.
Hey, I'm ready now. This King Jab. I really want to thank Ms. Scruggs for this interview and coming to our platform and speaking to us. I heard something that you said, and it's really been kind of the crucial why I haven't been really out there publicly doing things for the community as of lately. And you said something about if you do something, call me out publicly. And I think that's a big problem that's going on with our current administration. When we call them out, instead of them embracing us and adjusting to the ideas, they go into a blackball and really what I call a gang-banging mode because they put you on this blacklist. And that's what's really destroying the black community right here in St. Petersburg. So I appreciate you saying that because I had a personal situation where I called out, where I said something about the NAACP, and the recruits of it was like, oh, let's have a meeting. I'm like, no, we have a public platform. If you have something wrong, you got a problem with something I said, we can discuss it on a public platform. Right. So I appreciate you saying that, and you really, really, really kicking it. I hear you. We hear you, and I would like for you and all those that's running to know that we will be approaching this voting season with value within our vote, because we do have a problem with our elected officials collecting our votes and then never speaking or doing anything for the people that voted for them. Right. Thank you very much.
All right.
Yeah, voice of the people. Thank you for calling. I mean, but wow. I want to say so much about that, but we're
gonna have to bring you back another time, because the people are they're loving you over here. They yes.
And again, I just gotta say it. Again, we make these announcements. We've been shouting it out, saying, "Hey, if you're a candidate, if you're running for office, we'd like to invite you to come in." Again, you were the first one to get in the race, first one to respond to that, and so. Know that the platform is open to any candidate who wants to come in. And as we land this plane, Maria, you got anything you want to say? If you had like a final thought or final message for the people, what would it be?
Absolutely. This race is about the people of St. Petersburg. And my hope is that as those of you all that are listening, that you're willing to accept some responsibility, that if the people are going to ever be served, the people must be willing to do the work. And we can start that by going to mariaformayor.com and volunteering, making a donation, whatever you can to help support the movement. There is no room for anybody to sit on the sideline and expect to see change from the side.
Love that. Thank you so much.
You got something?
What we doing this week? We got all kind of stuff happening. We're doing a training tonight with Harold Bryant. You can go to the Facebook page for the Neighborhood Association and find out about Neighborhood Strong. He's going to be doing some grant training. Lots of good stuff cooking, y'all. We'll talk about it on Friday. That's all.
All right, be the change you want to be. See, write down those 5 things. Please do.
5 things
That make you smile, giggle, feel good, make you feel love, just appreciate life. Because again, we focus on the one thing that happened bad and we let it dictate our whole day when there was so much beauty out here in this world. Say, stay tuned for Sister You.
Make you lose your shoes. And shout out around the house. This has been the Tampa Bay Breakfast Club. I'm your brother John.
And this is Kiana.
We out.